And he said that it's important that we extend
Hey everybody, this is
all
Coffee
of
Chat
the
with Camille,
resources
and
of the
there's a
federal
press conference
government
going
to
on with an
help this
update
family get to
to the
answers
Nolan
of
Wells
the truth.
case.
And that's all you would want if it was your child. That's all they want with their child. Every resource available
Please
to
like and
help us get to
subscribe
the
and
truth.
like.
And,
And
and
good movie
let me
maker.
say that and answer that.
Yeah.
It's important that you understand that when we raise these issues, that's all what we wanted. We raised the issue. I was out front. Ben was the attorney with Trayvon Martin. And we finally got George Zimmerman in court. When the jury said not guilty, we said we disagreed, but we didn't go and attack his parents. We didn't go and chase him down. We accepted that. When we had the killing in Missouri with Michael Brown, and President Obama was president, we asked for the federal government to come in there. Eric Holder and them investigated the case and said there was no federal case that they could bring. We accepted that. So don't act like we don't accept it. We accept it when Michael Brown's case didn't go federal. We accept things when they're fair, but we want them to be fair. That's why I said, as the congressman said, they're giving them 7 days. The FBI come back either way, but we want a review by the Congress at some point. I'm on my way tomorrow to Madison, Wisconsin, to deal with Ruiz shot on camera. Why, man, there's a company trying to get a contract that is in business with ICE. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. We look at it from a civil rights point of view. They're dealing with it from their son. This is fresh blood.
Has the VA said anything to your attorneys regarding the joint investigation?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry. Has the VA said anything, given any guidance on the joint investigation?
We are in constant communication, and just like anything, like to address the gentleman sitting next to you.
Coffee Chat
What was
with
your name
Camille.
again?
Okay.
Yeah. You get 2 shots. Yeah. Okay. Just to address Greg's question, the truth has to be proven and shown with the methodology, the way they came about. Someone just can't come out and say, hey, I have a Ferrari, and then you believe they have a Ferrari. I don't have a Ferrari. The truth has to be shown. You got to bring them to your garage, show them the title. That's the truth. And yes, we will accept the truth. So the same way with what the young lady sitting next to you is saying, which is we have procedures that the courts require that we as lawyers ethically have to follow in order to turn over evidence. There's chains of custody. There's protected private information. And we are willing, in fact, today, I'm not doing anything the rest of the day, to meet with the FBI and our person, our expert, to go over that phone. And we've made that clear. So we're ready to do that at any moment.
I'm going to back up a little bit. So just to clarify, what the agreement was that the DA's office, and this is the Jackson County DA's office, as well as our forensic team, and possibly the FBI, were going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time with everybody together, right? This is very common in the law. I mean, what you all may be more used to is when there's a terrible car accident, and then there's an examination of that car, and everybody comes together one time. They don't move that car around, and everybody does their own thing. This is what is supposed to happen. We are waiting for the DA to determine the time, the place, the date. Let us know, and we are going to be there with our forensics team and anybody else, but it's done one time, one examination. We're ready for it to happen.
Julie Walker, Associated Press. Can you give us a sort of a timeline of what's next going forward, including any possible lawsuits that would be filed? Not, I guess, that you didn't mention before, but that you would be filing. And then the completion of the independent autopsy and how that's moving along, and anything else that would be moving forward. know you had mentioned you wanted that national day. Other than that, anything in the future?
Well, we want to make sure people understand we're gonna follow the truth wherever it leads us. There's been a lot made about we want to come and bring some lawsuit. When Christine and Elmore called me, we weren't thinking about bringing a lawsuit. We were thinking about just helping them get to the truth. That is a vehicle that we can use to get to the truth if the facts tell us that. We send out preservation letters, and everybody said, oh, they're gonna sue them. No, we send out preservation letters to preserve the evidence. And in those standard letters, you say litigation is reasonably anticipated to say, don't get rid of the evidence. We're on record that we want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that's what's gonna lead us in what we do. It's about the evidence, nothing else. And this family has always said from day one, even when I called Reverend Allen and talked to him, they have been consistent. We want to know what happened to our child. Everything else is just, it's just clickbait and everything. It's about what happened to our child. Black press, NABJ, we need you now more than ever to keep everybody focused. What happened to this 18-year-old black teenager in Mississippi? Because there have been questions when you look at the history of the Deep South, where young black people are unalive and nobody ever gets any answers. Mm-hmm. Well, we want Nolan Wells not to be like many others that came before him.
And that is why, as I said earlier, August 28th, the anniversary of Dr. King's March, Martin III and I have called, we are doing a huge march in Washington, Lincoln Memorial. This will be highlighted in other cases because these things keep happening, and to protect the right to vote. So we intend to stay out on the battlefield as long as necessary. Yeah.
And I'd ask about the
We understand that Dr. Roger Mitchell is made himself available at any point that the district attorney's office and the medical examiner will allow him to come. He's ready, willing, and able to go do it.
About this case in particular, what? I think that the race politics of this case has been the reaction. I think that we're not predetermining that the case was racial. We're determining that the answer, the investigation, has been racially divided, and that's what made it racial. Yeah, I'll take two more. This is a press conference, not a revival. We're not going to be here all afternoon.
Yes, sir. I don't know if you have what, in particular, feedback on the suspect. Is it the fact that you have to Mississippi why it's so difficult to get answers to the right?
Did you say Trump or rather than Crump? I'm just trying to. Yeah, we're praying for you at the prayer meeting.
I want to keep an open mind. I know there have been several attacks on us just for asking questions, and it's okay. When you think about Mississippi, they attacked all my heroes. The governor's predecessors, they attacked, Ida B. Wells, Medgar Evers, my personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, Dr. Martin Luther King, for saying that we're going to stand up for black life and black humanity and the right to black people to have the Constitution applied to them as American citizens. So I'm unapologetic in my defense of black life, black liberty, and black humanity. God has a calling on all our lives. And when you figure out what that calling is, you don't second guess it. You say, God, I know why I put on this earth, to be there to stand up for our people in times when they have nobody else to stand up for them. And so whether it's Mississippi or anywhere else in the deep South, or as Malcolm X said, I heard they discriminate against black people in the South. He said, I guess my definition of the South would be anything beneath the Canadian border, because last time I checked, they discriminate against black people all across America. And so what we're saying is we are open-minded. We want to trust them, but we can't be naive. We have to verify everything, as Attorney Hurt said. Whatever conclusions you come to, we want the methodology. Whatever investigation you're doing, we want to know that it's the same investigation that you would do with your child, not treat Nolan any differently. That's what we're trying to do. That's all we're asking.
All right, we're gonna take one more and then we have to take the family out. Jesse Jackson Jr., who has his own radio show.
I looked at the media only today. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Johnson. Nolan Wells' body was found on federal territory, Horn Island, run by the National Park Service. Are you aware of any death investigation opened up by the National Park Service into death on federal land? First question, actually two parts. There have been 7 arrests made for the swimming pool, also run by the National Park Service. Why the disparity between arrests over the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial and 0 arrests, subpoenas regarding the National Park Service in this case?
The answer, and I have the lawyer's answer, is that is why we raised it, thanks to the CBC and Congresswoman, to a federal level, because the federal government has to answer those questions of involvement, because Horn Island is federal property. And while they can have a grand jury indict around the reflection pool, then announce they pulling back the charges, now have with a new special grand jury. They done went to a pool twice and haven't come to Horn Island one time, and it was federal property. So I think that the contradiction there is why we keep raising the question.
And also, too, as a matter of record, you know, being in Congress, there is federal oversight. And I sit on Judiciary Committee in Congress. We also have the Senate Judiciary Committee. And oftentimes, there are a lot of these kinds of investigations that come before us because we have the authority for oversight. So since this is considered, at this point, would be considered something of national federal interest, that is the reason why we're asking for the accountability to make sure that this is not just swept under the rug.
And I'll say in conclusion, thank you to the media. Now more than ever, the 4th branch of government, we need you. NABJ, we need you now more than ever. We're talking about Nolan Wells, but remember, there were 2 other 18-year-old black teenagers who were unalived in highly questionable situations. Tyler Smith and David Irvin. And we need to be talking about these children. We got, you know, the young lady, Alyssa Hackett, who was, I mean, brutalized by a state trooper and who cursed her. I mean, she's a tiny black teenager. And, you know, Reverend Allen, that's what we're looking at the video, as a girl dad, I mean, if a police officer can't have an interaction with a black teenage girl without body slamming her, cursing her, and punching her in the face, what does that say about where we're at in America in 2026? This is about covering those stories, even when people who may run your news outlets don't want you to cover the stories. We need you to give us a voice in the tradition of Ida B. Wells. We can't have the police just writing the narratives and the reports. We need you all writing those narrative reports. And you got to challenge your white counterparts and say it. Ida B. Wells said famously, Reverend Al, the killers write the police reports. No, we need NABJ to write the reports and the narratives. Thank you.
Okay, so that's that. It's really depressing, really sad. But at the same time, it looks like they're getting some momentum in this case from Congresswoman and or the federal government is getting involved, which is magnificent. And I did love the last question by Reverend Jesse Jackson when he asked about the death being on federal property and and all that. So it was really good stuff overall. It's a very sad. This is very sad to in my lifetime. I feel like I'm witnessing an Emmett Till situation or type of death. But America hasn't changed in its underbelly, so that's the unfortunate part. And I think, for me, I got all caught up in President Obama's election and see what we perceive as progress. But then when I saw the officer, I was just all out assaulting that young lady. That was frightening. I think I watched on Queen Amidala's channel because she's incredibly informative. But it was really just shocking. And so, it's actually really made me think about how I should even deal with folks anymore, So I don't know about you all. But anyway, it's not about me. This is about sweet Nolan Wells and his beautiful fam. And basically, I love what civil rights attorney Ben Crump said. He said that Mississippi has historically been attacking our people, in particular his heroes, forever, right? Like for hundreds of years now. It's so sad. And let me think what else did they say. Oh, and I like his demand. When I say his, excuse me, I'm only referring to Benjamin Crump because he's a civil rights attorney. Okay, so what happened to this? I like his question. What happened to this young teen? He used black, but I don't acknowledge that kind of stuff because that's obvious. But to this young teen, right, who happens to be melanated, right? Why every time it is a melanated individual in the South that's been, I'll just say hung, that's been, I'll say unalived actually. That's been unalived, that there is just, how can I say it? That there is just no, oh, wait a minute. I wonder if you guys can hear me. Lord have mercy, I'm just talking. There it goes. Okay, sorry folks. I gotta make sure. I think my microphone was even on. I'm just talking real hard. Anyway, but what I was saying is I love a civil rights attorney, Benjamin Crump's questioning when he said, what happened to this young teen, right? He used black teen. I don't call melanated folks the black word because that to me refers to a thing. Human beings are melanated. So anyway, what happened to this young melanated teen? And then he brought up also Tyler Smith. I hope y'all can hear me. Tyler Smith and David Irving. And David Irving. You know what? I'll take this out. Okay. There we go. I think we're good. Anyway, so he brought up Tyler Smith and David Irving. Also, I love when Attorney Crump brought up the how Mississippi has had has attacked most of his heroes. That was so sad. It screams Medgar Evers and Ida B. Wells, and I I just I just shake my head because it's like, you guys, that's not your land. This is what I really say to all of these people running around pretending. None of those places, if you look them up on the map for who were the original people, they all look like me. So for them to be running everything and then being and brutalizing and covering up and just being real uneducated, in my opinion, and it's beyond uneducation. It's being inhumane. But and I liked it. It's being raised to a federal level. But I do hope that the federal government under current administration um, will do the right thing. That's my fundamental hope. Because at the end of the day, when I actually watched Nolan's associates, I could really see a disconnect. It was like every time I watched him, like, there's a disconnect here. One, they don't have any stories other than he used to sleep over our house, and we used to pick him up. And no. Where are the stories that you have with your friends? Like, we went to Magic Mountain, and then we used to like go to our favorite burger spot, like back in the day, because I'm from Pasadena, California, and we had like a Lucky Boy. It was like this very famous spot over in Arroyo Parkway, and you see Olympians there and everything. But it's like, where are their actual connective stories to him? What I've heard from those young men, they're not boys, but they are men, in fact, and I think that they're carrying themselves as such, so they should be held responsible as such. But if they did anything, I'm so sorry. I don't want to blame. But it does seem to be a bit of a disconnect, almost as if they didn't really know Nolan. I don't know. I find their storytelling, quite frankly, peculiar, because I'm just not hearing connective stories that you have with your best friend or your friends. Right? Like me and my girlfriends used to go to clubs over in Huntington Beach, and it was like five of us, and we just do a couple of shots and be on the dance floor. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not hearing the connective stories, as I stated before. So that is a problem. And I do not think that they viewed him as an equal. He may have thought so, but I don't know what his mindset was. All I know is, one, from what I could kind of gather, one of the things that I really kind of was like thinking on too is last time I checked, they weren't accused of anything but other than on social media, right? So I don't understand all of this hoopla about anything they're doing, because they did not, in fact, lose their lives. This all has been open because Nolan lost his life. And I watched Dr. Umar's um, talking points, and he was spot on, I thought, with a lot of what he was saying. It was, to me, he shined in that moment because he really brought out some important points from an analytical point of view.